Hey class, good morning. Today we're going to do a little bit of poetry terms to help you as you're working on these poems at your house. So if you want to turn to page 305 and also get out the PowerPoint that I posted in Google Classroom about these terms, that way we can go over them together. I'm not going to do every single one of them, but I'm going to give you some examples and go through them so you know what's going on. If you are not ready to do poetry, go ahead and feel free to stop the video and pull this back up when you are ready. But let's pray and we'll get started. Lord, we thank you for today. I thank you, Lord, for each one of my students. Pray, Lord, you help them to stay diligent as they do their work at home. Lord, I pray you'll keep everyone healthy and safe and protect all of us from this virus, Lord, that's going around, Lord. And we thank you that you are in control of it all. I pray all this in your name. Amen. Okay, so you should be on page 305. If not, go ahead and pause the video until you get out your PowerPoint and your book. So you should have on your PowerPoint, go ahead and look at the slide that says rhyme on it. And it has the definition for you. Two or more words have an identical sounds in the last stressed vowel and all the sounds following that vowel. And examples I gave you were may, bay, lean, and clean. Now if you look at my board, over here you notice that I gave you a more simplified definition. So if you would rather do this one in your notes, feel free to have rhyme. Two or more words with the same vowel sound. So we have may, where's my finger? May and pay. Okay, you hear the A sound in both of those. That makes a perfect rhyme. And leave and cleave. So you hear the E sound in both of those. Notice you are not rhyming with consonants. Just a review, just to remind you, the rhyming comes in the vowel sound, not in the consonant sound. So make sure with the definition you know it's two or more words with the same vowel sound. May, pay, leave, cleave. Okay, so the second term on your PowerPoint you should see, this PowerPoint you should be looking at right here, is slant rhyme. And what slant rhyme is two words with similar but slightly mismatched sounds. Now let's look at these examples I have over here for you after we look at my board. Okay, so slant rhyme, two similar words with slightly mismatched sounds. And I gave you the example that's in your book, star and door. So they have very similar sounds at the R and the door, but you hear that different vowel sound. So they're very two similar words in sound. That's what it means by two similar, it means in sound. But they're slightly mismatched, just like a pair of mismatched socks. They're both socks, but they don't really match together. So let's look at the example I gave you in the PowerPoint. It reads, hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. So the two words I want you to focus on in this one for the slant rhyme, soul and all. Now they are not perfect rhyme because we have the O sound in soul and the ah sound in all. O and ah are not perfect rhymes because they're not the same sound, but they kind of sound like they go together. It's kind of like soul and all. Okay, enough to where they could kind of match. By the way, this one, Hope is a Thing with Feathers, you should recognize, is by Emily Dickinson, and she loved using slant rhyme. Another one we're going to do was just I rhyme. She loved putting those different sound things together. So we have soul and all. Now we have this one. This is not by Emily Dickinson, it's by a different poet. It says, if thou wilt leave me, do not leave me last. Okay, keep that in mind. Do not leave me last. When other petty griefs have done their spite, but in the onset come, so I shall taste at first the very worst of fortune's might. So we have last and taste. Now you may say, Mrs. Flynn, they both have the A in them, so why isn't that a perfect rhyme? Well, listen to how the A is pronounced. La-a-ast, te-a-ace. Okay, we have A, we have the A sound, the long A sound in taste. Last is that short A sound. So there is a slightly different way to pronounce those words. And we're going by the general pronunciation of each word, not how specific people pronounce them. Just when it comes to slant rhyme, any type of rhyme in poetry, you go by the general accepted pronunciation of the words. So we have last and taste. So there's enough difference for it not to be a perfect rhyme, but but it's slightly the same, so that's why it's considered a slant rhyme. So as a review, there's soul and all, and then last and taste for that slightly mismatched sound for you. So the next term we have is I rhyme, and over here on my board we have the terms words pairs that are spelled alike but they're just pronounced differently. And your book gave you the example of cough and bow. So as the way the English language is crazy enough to do stuff like this, you pronounce cough with an F sound at the end and bow with a long O sound. So they do not rhyme. By the technical definition of a rhyme, two or more words with the same vowel sound, these two words are not rhyming words. However, when you look at them, they look like they should rhyme. So that's the idea of I rhyme. They look the same, but they're pronounced differently. So I want you to see the examples I have on the PowerPoint. So you should be on the slide that says I rhyme, word pairs that are spelled alike but pronounced differently. Devouring time, let thou the lion's paws, and make the earth devour her own sweet brood. Okay, see how that's pronounced, brood. Pluck the keen teeth from the fierce tiger's jaws, and burn the long-lived phoenix in her blood. Little lovely, uplifting poetry selection for your Monday morning there. Brood and blood look like they should be perfect rhyme, right? If you're an early language learner, you would think, oh, okay, it's brood and blued, or broad and blood. Broad, I don't know. Anyways, they look like they would rhyme the same, be perfect rhyme, but they're not. So that's the idea of I rhyme. They look like, because both of them have that double O sound, so they look like they would be the same, but they are not. That's brood and blood. So two different sounds right there. Okay, here's a second example. Left blooming alone, all her lovely companions are faded and gone. So alone and gone. Notice both of these words have that O-N-E at the end. So one would think these would be perfect rhymes, but they're not. They just look like they rhyme. Again, the idea of I rhyme. They look like they rhyme. Alone and gone. So keep that in mind. Hold on just a sec. Okay, guys, so Samson wanted to say hi. So there's Samson. Poor guy being spoiled rotten during this time. Okay, but let's get back to grammar lessons. So we have, as a review, we have rye, which is two or more words with the same vowel sound, may, pay. Slant rhyme, two similar words with slightly mismatched sounds, star and door. And then I rhyme with cough and bow, words that look like they should be the same, but they are not. So I'm going to pause the video and get some more terms on the board for you. Okay, guys, I am back. Now we have a couple more terms for you to do for this lesson. The first one is end rhyme. This is the most common form, excuse my dog in the background, please. This is the most common form of rhyme that you will see in poetry, and that's end rhyme. It comes at the end of each poetic line. So right here, all I have is rhyme at the end of a line of poetry. That is end rhyme. So you use kind of like a no-duh kind of moment. But just to emphasize it, it is at the end of each line of poetry. And if you look at your PowerPoint, you see where it says a word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say it just begins to live that day. Another poem by Emily Dickinson. So we have dead and said. End rhyme right there. Dead rhymes with said. Each word at the end of a line of poetry rhymes. Same thing with say and day. So that is end rhyme, the most common form of poetry. Oh, that would be a great test question. So keep that in mind. So dead, said, say, day. Okay, the next term you have over here is internal rhyme. And this is rhyme within a line of poetry. So this is different from end rhyme. End rhyme is at the end of a line of poetry, while internal rhyme is within a line of poetry. And so if you look at my couple of examples I have for you in your PowerPoint, it reads, once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. Anybody know who wrote this famous line of poetry? It's from The Raven. Any ideas? Okay, if you said Edgar Allan Poe, you are right. And if you're in 10th grade, you're going into 11th next year, you get to hear him in American literature. So this is just a little introduction in which you get to listen to next year. So we have dreary and weary. Notice this is the same line. If you look this up online, looked up this poem online, these words would be in the same line of poetry. It'd be written just like this. So dreary and weary are in the same line of poetry. They have that same vowel sound, E, the weary and dreary. So those two are in perfect rhyme, but they're also internal rhyme. Okay, then we have the fair breeze blew, the white foam flew. Okay, another example of internal rhyme. Both of these are on the same line of poetry, and they are perfect rhymes. Blew, the U sound, blew and flew. Okay, and then down here, we were the first that ever burst. So the sound in both of these, first and burst, those two are first, burst. Okay, those two would go together, and that would be, again, internal rhyme. So anytime you have words that rhyme within a line of poetry, dreary, weary, blew, flew, first, burst, that is internal rhyme. And then this last one for today is rhyme scheme. Now I have it written over there on my board, but we'll just keep it on the PowerPoint. That seems to work better. So rhyme scheme is a poem's pattern of end rhyme. Excuse me. Okay, I'm back. So it's a poem's pattern of end rhyme is the idea of rhyme scheme. You always start with A for the first line. So if you look, let's look at the example as I go through this. Okay, so you can keep looking at the terms, but I'm going to show you the example. So you always start with that first line. So the people along the sand. So that's the word you focus on when you're doing rhyme scheme, is that last word. And you always label it with an A. So sand gets an A. Look at the second line. All turn and look one way. So does sand and way rhyme? That's right. No, they do not. So then you keep going in the alphabet for rhyme scheme and you give that one a B. So if they do not rhyme, just like sand and way do not rhyme, you label that with a B. Okay, let's look at the third line. They turn their back on the land. Okay, so does land rhyme with way? No. Does land rhyme with sand? Yes. So you're going to give this one an A because it rhymes with sand. So each word that rhymes, that has the same sounds, gets the same letter. Sand A, land A. So let's keep going. They turn and look at the sea all day. So does day rhyme with land? No. Does day rhyme with way? Yes. So it gets a B. So right here, here's our rhyme scheme so far. A, B, A, B. Sand and land rhyme, A, A. Way and day rhyme, B, B. So notice it's skipping a line. The rhyme skipping a line right now. Let's go to our fifth line. As long as it takes to pass. Ooh, okay. So does pass rhyme with day or land? Nope, it does not. So then we give this one a C because that's a new rhyme introduced in the poem. Excuse me. Whew. And then, so we give that one a C because that doesn't rhyme with any of these. So let's keep going. A ship keeps raising its hull. Does hull rhyme with pass or day or land? No. So that gets a D. Notice how we're going down in the alphabet. We started with A, we're going down to D. Remember, each line of poetry gets a new letter if it doesn't rhyme with any of these. Okay, where are we at? Okay. The wetter ground like glass. Now, we've heard that sound before, the glass sound before. So notice it rhymes with what sound? Pass. Very good. So this one would get a C because pass has a C. And then reflects a standing gull. Okay, we've also heard that sound before. In which word? It's right, in hull. So hull and gull rhyme, so that gets a D. So now that we've finished this poem, let's look at the rhyme scheme. We have A, B, C, D, C, D. Okay, so in this poem, it is safe to say that every other line rhymes. Sand, land, day. Oh, sorry. Sand, land, way, day, pass, glass, hull, goal. So the rhyme scheme for this poem, if you were writing, like let's say you were answering a question on a test, and I gave you an example, you would tell me the rhyme scheme would be A, B, A, B. Because we're assuming that if there are any other lines after this last one, it would follow the pattern. So let's say, because this one's A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, with the next line. It'll probably be, what do you think, E, F, E, F, and then G, H, G, H, and so on until the poem is done. And so usually after the first 4 to 8 lines, usually after the first 4 lines, if the poem is written in a regular pattern, you can catch the rhyme scheme. Okay, there are some other popular rhyme schemes like AABB or ABC, 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 ABC all the way through, or ABC, DEF, ABC, DEF. That's all up to the poet, how he wants to do his rhyme scheme, and if he wants to include rhyme at all, which we'll talk about later. So just to summarize for you, let me go back now that you've seen the example. It's a poem's pattern of end rhyme. Always start with A. If the next line rhymes with A, you label line 2 A as well. If a line does not rhyme with A, you label that line B. Every word that rhymes at the end of the line is given the same letter. And there's your example, what we just talked about. Okay, so the poem you're going to read, to go with this, you're going to read 2 poems, Alan Adale. You can read through the rest of the PowerPoint. Alan Adale and, hold on, my book is not paying attention. And Futility. And as you're reading these poems, you're looking for end rhyme and perfect rhyme. You're also going to see some alliteration in Alan Adale. Remember, alliteration is, here, let me show you the poem. Your book does not have it highlighted because this is the way they do the teacher book. But it's like you look at this line, prances and prize, so that's line 7 right there. There's your alliteration because that's the 2 beginning consonant sounds. And there's your rhyme, there's your perfect rhyme, tail and dale right there. And so you're going to read through this poem and you are going to catch the rhymes in the poem. You're going to look for them. If you are allowed to underline in your book, I would like you to underline the rhyming in your book. If you are not, then don't stress about it, but just make sure you're looking for it as you're reading. And so it also goes on to page 307, so it's not done at the end of page 306. We have a lot of alliteration in this poem, but like if you look at here, we have night and bright. So there's rhyming right there, night and bright. Lord and word. Now, what does Lord and word sound like? Lord and word, is that a perfect rhyme? No, what could that be? Right, yeah, that could be slant rhyme, Lord and word. Okay, those are not perfect vowel sounds. But Vale and Dale, yeah, those are perfect rhymes. So you're just going to read through the poem and look for those. And then you're going to turn the page. Whoop. And then you're going to look at Futility by Wilfred Owen. And you're going to, again, look for the rhyme scheme in it. Say hello to Samson once again. And so you're going to look at the slant rhyme right here. So look at Futility. Here we have slant rhyme. Once in France. Here that's similar. Both of them end in that CE, once in France. But the vowel sounds are very different. So be looking for those. And then we also have toil and all. Those would also be slight rhymes. So that kind of gives you some clues. So if you look at your questions, the about the poem questions, I told you which ones to do, and I don't exactly remember because I did not mark them in my book. But just make sure you do the ones that I told you to do. And just make sure also that you can do extra credit for these. But remember, just 1 extra credit beyond the 5. Okay, that's all I'm allowing this week, because you can also watch the videos about your literature lessons. One thing I wanted to mention, hey guys, I'm back. One thing I wanted to mention is that if you have any prayer requests during this time, please send them to me. My email is chinateacher07@gmail.com. You can also message me on Schoolworks or send me a message on Google Classroom, because I want to be praying for y'all during this time. I'm missing your smiling faces. I miss the interaction with y'all, but know that I'm very thankful that y'all are at home, safe with your families during this time. Make sure you also get out and enjoy the outdoors a little bit, social distancing and all. But just go to a local hiking trail, or even just get out and walk around your neighborhood. Just enjoy this little bit extra free time that we all have now. So I'll leave you with that. I want to make another video about the rest of the poetry terms you have on page 311. And we will be back then. Bye guys. Have a great day.